Hello, Nova Nation. It's WXVU Sports Director David Szczepanski here with two very special guests, Coach Bridget Orchard of the softball program, her 8th season as the head coach here at Villanova, and Allison Venella, the Senior Associate Athletic Director for Student Athlete Development here at Villanova. So great to be with you guys today.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Well, it is the 50th year of Villanova Softball, a big year, a big celebration. And just want to start, Coach Orchard. I mean, you have grown up around this program. You graduated here in the late 90s from Villanova. You coached at Cabrini. You're in their Hall of Fame. You've been in the area for a while. And now, as you are in your 8th season here in 2026, just what does this 50th year celebration mean to you?
It's just awesome. It's really cool just to know that we've been part of the history and the present and the future. And it's just kind of cool to have that situation for me. Like so my teammates that I played with that are still my best friends to this day that I played, like you said, in the 90s. And then to hear from people from the 70s that have played and started the program and were trailblazers to get to our girls to what they can do now. And then I get to experience, obviously, stories from the past. Mm-hmm. And then I get to see our current players kind of reap the benefit of what the time and energy and effort that they put in to get what we have today. So it's really cool. And it sounds like such a huge number. It really is, but I don't feel like it's really been that long until you look at the history of where we've been.
That's a really interesting point, and it's such a big celebration coming up. Going to celebrate it in mid-April. Allison, I want to transition over to you a little bit. I mean, you also have grown up around this softball program. You were a student manager here during your time at Villanova with Coach DiBernardi as well. I mean, just now that you're seeing this 50th year celebration come together, what does it mean to you too?
Yeah, I mean, Coach Maria DiBernardi is a huge. She is the history of Villanova softball.
Winningest coach, yep.
Winningest coach. Coach Orchard played for her. I was her student manager for 4 years. You know, that opportunity opened the door for my career in college athletics. Just becoming a student manager, I had no idea I'd spend 17 years in the Villanova athletics department. But I've loved it. I've truly loved it. I, like Bridget, have really amazing friends from that 4-year period of time when I was a part of the team as a manager, and have stayed connected, who I'm hoping will come back and be a part of this 50th celebration. So as much as Bridget's a part of it, I'm a part of it, but we really enjoy, being here in the present and then also helping to shape the future.
I'm maybe going to put you on the spot a little bit, but what is your favorite moment or memory from your time as a student manager?
Oh, geez.
It might be hard to just pick one.
Okay. Well, my freshman year, 2004-2005, we made the Big East Championship. It was a similar format as where we're going this year, back to 4 teams. We went out to South Bend, Notre Dame. Notre Dame hosted it, and that was really special. There was 8 seniors that year. Shannon Williams was one of the main pitchers that year, who was probably a future Hall of Famer here for Villanova Athletics, Villanova Softball, and so that is maybe a favorite memory as a student. Favorite memory recently, of course, is winning championships under Coach Orchard's tenure. 3 in the past 8 years since she's been head coach, and that's what we want to do each year. We want to compete to win championships.
I love it. 2024 Big East title champions here at Villanova Softball. Coach Orchard, want to zoom out a little bit from this year and talk about last year. 15-9 record in Big East play, another winning season for you. Just what were your biggest takeaways from last season?
It was a learning, kind of growing experience for us. I think it was humbling in some sense. I think because coming off back-to-back championships and the expectations and having the target on your back, we're hosting the conference championships. And I think as a coach too, it got overwhelming for me, and I think that it got overwhelming for the players. So I think it was definitely a learning, growing experience to say, like, okay, what would I do differently? And there's a lot of things I would do differently. Obviously, looking back at it now, just in preparing for the tournament, not even physically, it's more mentally getting ready for the tournament and having the target on your back and the pressure that these girls are feeling. I think that's the part that we're working on this year, kind of getting that straightened out.
And last year, a big piece of your team, Miranda Ronco. I mean, the program record in a single season, 21 homers. What is it like to coach a player like Miranda? But also, in addition to that, how important is it to have a big power bat in your lineup like that?
Oh, it's awesome. I mean, just this past weekend, they intentionally walked her 4 times, which is a program record, I think season record they reported. But literally, they were just afraid to even pitch to her, which is awesome. And it's great for her teammates, because she gets on base and then they're able to drive her in. So it got us some runs this weekend. She had 2 home runs in 1 game, which is why they intentionally walked her the second and third game. But just to coach somebody like her, she just works so hard. She's just a great teammate, such a great person. So it's not just the bat, it's what she does off the field as well as on the field, which is great to have her around our program.
And now switching gears a little bit to this season, a little bit of a tough start. Non-conference play was a challenging schedule, but Villanova's now won 4 of the last 7 games. A series win against DePaul this past weekend. Just what has been your message to the team, especially facing some early season adversity?
I think it's what it is every year, and it's kind of what you got to pick your poison, and it's kind of there is a method to my madness, and we've done it every year. And every year I'll get the text messages and the calls. Are you okay? What's going on? What's happening? And they're like, no, we plan to do this. We don't plan to lose games.
Sure.
But we want to get them ready. We want to get them battle tested. We want to get them exposed. And they get humbled and they come back and they work harder. And we kind of rely on our upperclassmen to tell the underclassmen and the fans and the parents, like, this is what's supposed to be happening. We pick the schedule for a reason, and I feel the adversity helps them. They're going to grow and they're going to learn, and it's really, really tough. So I think you have to be built for it. I think when we recruit players, they know what they're getting into. If you're going to come play at Villanova, you're going to play a really strong schedule against top players in the country, top teams in the country, and really nice stadiums, and sometimes you're going to win those games, sometimes you're going to lose those games, but you're always going to learn from it, and that's just something we've done. And we may rethink that. I'll continue to do it until, my administrators or somebody says that you can't do that anymore. It's too hard, it's too tough, because it's a grind. But I think our girls are built for it, and I think right now, like, they know, they get up the next day and they're working harder. They get up and we get knocked down, the next day they're up and they're right back at it again, and that's what we want to see them doing. And we're not really worried as much about the wins early season. We're like, how do they handle that adversity, and how can you knock down and get back up again? And they've been doing it, and people have been checking in on us. How you doing? What's this like? And then we got this. We're good. And I think the team, as long as they're going to stick together, which they have been, so I think our culture is so good that we built that culture of, like, this is what we're going to do and how we're going to get through this. And if we get through this, which we still haven't gotten through it yet, if we get through it, we're going to be better for it, as opposed to, this false sense of security that you're going to go and win every single game, and then you get to conference, you're not quite feel mentally prepared. I think we're over-prepared right now as far as mentally being able to take a beating and come back. And I think that showed in the DePaul series, we battled and battled and battled. I came back and we won the game. The first game we won, decent. Second game we were down. We came back.
It's really exciting win.
2 strikes on each batter, and I think they were ready for that situation because they were put in tough spots early on. We had just come off of playing Michigan and Virginia and Alabama, so I think they felt comfortable in that situation. And not that they knew they were going to succeed, but our game is a game of failure. It's what it is, and all sports are tough, but I think softball specifically is tougher than anything you've ever played. It's failure. You're going to fail more than you succeed, and that's just part of it. So it's kind of getting the freshmen, sophomores to understand that you're going to fail. How are you going to get yourself ready to play again? And that's really what we've done and what we've built on in my career. And so far, it has helped them become, I think, even better people off the field and be able to handle tough situations. That's
great. Such an interesting perspective. And Allison, I want to head over to you because, as a student manager, you've been in the dugout. You've witnessed some of these big games. Just how cool is it to see Villanova take on some of the best teams in the country early on in non-conference play and really get started, or I should say get ready for Big East play?
Yeah, totally. Like Bridget said, she has a method to her madness. So, she's opening the season versus Alabama, who I think is still undefeated on the season, Georgia Tech, going down to Boca, playing FAU, playing Michigan, playing number 18 Virginia. The team is then ready for Big East play, and that's where the heart of our season lies, is in Big East play, being prepared. Even yesterday, it was a tough loss on a Sunday versus DePaul, but in the bottom of or the top of the 7th inning, we had bases loaded. We were right in the game. They're right there, prepared to make their mark if they can. So didn't go our way yesterday, but they're prepared because they've had the adversity, they've had the long travel weekends, they've had all this time, on and off the field together, preparing for this heart of our season, which we're really excited to open, home opener this week. We'll be hosting Butler this weekend, another critical Big East weekend. So, we're really thrilled.
And I think when you just take a look at building that non-conference schedule, there's obviously a variety of different ways coaches can go about it. I really like the explanation of choosing to play the tougher teams and get ready for Big East play, but also to a big factor is the weather here in the Northeast, right? You have to go down to Florida, somewhere warmer, and play some of these better teams. So just what is that like as a coach, knowing that, even this weekend, we're lucky that we're in the 70s when we're filming this, or at least high 60s, going to be in the 70s this week, knock on wood. But just what kind of goes into that, kind of getting the players ready for, okay, well, we don't really know what's the weather is going to be like when we come back here to the Northeast.
Oh, it's absolutely. That's one of the other challenges of being a Northeast team, kind of competing down there, because, again, it'll be our first time on a field since the fall. So we're going to go step into a game against, a top team in the country that's been practicing outside. And usually some years we get outside, maybe out on the turf a little bit. This year we were under snow, that freezing snow, so we didn't get outside at all before we got to see. We're still practicing, obviously, inside, and we're throwing live, and we're doing stuff in cages, but it's nothing like getting out on a field and actually having to play. So that's where we're already backed up too. So we're challenging ourselves, and now we're double challenging ourselves because we really haven't seen any of the elements yet. You don't know, and that is a tough thing too. You're going to play down, really nice weather, and then you come back home and it's snowing. You got to go back inside, and it's it's like a tease. Right? Hey, this is really great weather. Come back and you're like, it's snowing. So it's nice to come back today and be like, hey, well, this is spring. But I think, again, it's a grind, and I think it's just, like I said, the adversity. The girls getting used to that. That's another thing they know. In our season, I think I said earlier, like January 1st, you're checking the weather app. Like, what's the weather going to be like? And even though you know it's going to change, you're still obsessed with checking the weather, what it's going to. And I have like 3 different apps, and I usually, whichever one gives me the most favorable one. And I'm like, we can play today, and they're like, it's snowing. I'm like, no, this says it's going to clear up, So I think that's just something I think they all have done with their, obviously if we recruit West Coast or down south, they haven't dealt with it quite as much, but our Northeast kids have dealt with all that rain and snow and playing in all types of temperatures.
And I'm sure when you get off the plane, you're used to 70s, 75, maybe even 80, and you come back and you hit that 30-degree weather. Definitely not fun. But I want to transition a little bit to talk about your offense. No Ava Franz this season, but Maddie Barrows, she's been excellent. 328 batting average this year, 20 hits, and on-base percentage of more than 460, almost 470. What has impressed you about Maddie's game so far?
Yeah, she's just one of the most athletic kids that I've ever coached. I just talked to her about it a little bit yesterday, coming in and just seeing her growth as a freshman to a sophomore to a junior to a senior, and how she's gotten better every year, and she's just one of those kids that gets it done. We play her anywhere. She came in as a pitcher, so probably nobody really knows that, but she was like an all-state Gatorade Player of the Year pitcher, from Connecticut, coming into Villanova. We had her at first base, we had her at second, she's third base, now she's playing third. We had in the outfield yesterday, so she's one of those kids that has batted anywhere in our lineup. She's our leadoff now and doing an amazing job at that, but she's been up and down the lineup anywhere, and she's also the type of kid that's willing to do whatever you ask her to do. I called her and said, hey, how do you feel about playing the outfield so we can put some more offense in? And she's like, yeah, whatever you need me to do, I'll do it. And a lot of kids wouldn't do that. They want to play their position where they're most comfortable, but she's willing to kind of get out of her comfort zone and try whatever we need for the team, and she's been thriving at it. It's been awesome to watch.
Well, similar to Maddie's early season success, you also have Lily St. Jean, who's really stepped up, hitting 293, big jump from last year to this year, 2 homers, 9 RBIs. Just how important has it been for a player like Lily to step up into, that more of a leadership role and definitely, more of an offensive role as well?
Yeah, it's amazing, especially like you mentioned, those are both seniors, which is awesome when you can have your seniors leading your team, because that's who the freshmen and sophomore, especially the early season struggles, that's who they're going to look to. And those two, and the rest of our seniors that, Maddie O and Kat Gallant, like the seniors are stepping up. And even though they might not have in the season they thought they were going to have, it's like, okay, well, they're having success individually, but we're losing games. They want to win the games. They'd rather have win the games than have the season they're having. So they're constantly working, and I think their biggest task is, getting everybody on the same page, getting everybody back in the locker room. Hey, this is what we're about. This is why we're doing what we're doing, and this is what we're going to do. And it showed, this weekend, Lily and Maddie just stepping up and playing really well.
And looking at the pitching side of things, the rotation, what have you made so far of the pitching and just how Villanova's played on the mound so far?
Yeah, it's been great. Like I said, the toughest thing with the pitchers is because of our early season schedule. That's one thing that gets really hard, because you can throw a really good pitch, a nice pitch, it rises, it goes exactly where you want it to go, and it goes 400 feet. And it's hard to tell a pitcher, like, oh, that's a good pitch. And they're like, well, they hit it so far. I'm like, it's fine. So that, I think, is the biggest struggle. So obviously our pitching numbers aren't where they want them to be, but they're facing,
good teams.
Yeah, we have freshmen throwing against Michigan's, top teams in the country, and those numbers are gonna go down as they start going and they start working on their pitching. But we have so many options. We have 6 pitchers. We have ones that can start the games, finish the game, close the game. So they were all getting different opportunities, and we're still kind of working on, what our rotation is going to be. Kat Gallant gets the ball more, obviously, as the senior, and she's our senior leader. She pitches the most innings, but Lexi Coburn pitches and she hits, and then we have Miranda Runco, who hits and pitches. So they're all kind of our 2 freshmen, Carly Zick, Maggie King, Sophia Mount, she's a sophomore. So we have a lot of options, which is good and bad. You know what I mean? So as a coach, you're like, this is amazing. We have options, and now it's my job kind of to piece it together and get it right, and that's what we're still working on.
Well, I love that you talk about the freshmen, because they're obviously a big part of this team, and getting them that important experience against some of these really, really good teams in the country. Talk about Kat Gallant, a senior. She's already thrown more than 50 innings, but she really is that that workhorse, that player you really go to on the mound. Just how important has her success been throughout her Villanova career, but how important is she especially to this pitching staff?
Yeah, and it's huge, and we've talked to her a lot, and she's talked to the pitching staff herself of her experience, when she came in as a freshman, and what her year was like as a freshman, what it was like as a sophomore, as a junior. Now she's a senior, because she's had those ups and downs. She started where I wasn't playing a lot of it. A lot of pitchers want to pitch all the games. I wasn't playing, but she waited her turn, and then she beat Arkansas in a regional, and she didn't pitch one pitch in the Big East tournament. We talked about that today. So we played the Big East tournament, played 3 games. She threw not a single pitch, and then we put her on the mound in the biggest game of our program history, and she wins it. And that doesn't happen unless you buy into the program, you buy into the coaches, you trust us. She trusts herself, and she got out there and threw an absolute gem. And we were able to, she threw 5, and Carolyn Policano came in and closed that game out. And that's kind of really cool to see that it's like she's not whining. And we even talk, I know she'll even say like, yeah, I wanted to pitch in the Big East. Like, absolutely wanted some innings in the Big East. But, at that point, I guess she was a sophomore, and she didn't get the innings. The other pitchers did their job, and she knew that. She understood that. She was happy for the team, which again resulted in her getting her opportunity to make the most of it. So it was just kind of cool to see how that worked out, and then to have her currently be able to kind of explain that to the freshmen and the sophomore and the juniors and say, like, hey, we're going to work as a staff, and we're going to need every single person in this room, and this is how pitching goes. So some days it could be the umpire, it could be the opposing team, could be matchups. It's like, this is who's throwing today, and this is why. I think athletes want to know a lot now why.
Sure.
So we have to do a lot of explaining.
That's really such an interesting standpoint, especially coming from a coach. How do you kind of balance that? They're younger, but obviously want that experience. But in addition, that can play a big role down the line when you're playing in these really big games. And this past weekend, a great series for you in Chicago against DePaul. Take 2 out of 3. Had a chance to win yesterday, as we mentioned, bases loaded in the 7th. What were your takeaways from this big series, and how do you think this is kind of push or give you some momentum heading into the rest of Big East?
I thought it was awesome. I told them I was so proud of them. I think the first game it was awesome because we jumped out right away, and it was great to see us to get a lead and then keep that lead. The second game, I think I was more proud because we just fought and battled and just like never said die, and they just they just rose to the occasion, and that was all them doing what they do. And then the third game, we still competed and battled, and we kind of give props to DePaul that they competed and they never went away, and they end up taking that game. But I think for our girls, just to understand that you can hold a lead, you can come back. So we were in all different types of situations, which again, I think as a fan, it's awesome to watch because they're really good games. As a coach, you want to have a lead and never give it up. But that's just not how it works. You're going to have a lead and you're going to go down, and you kind of want to see how the girls respond to that. How are you going to play with having a lead? We hadn't had a lead in a long time. Like, are we going to be able to hold this lead? And we did. And then we went down and we were able to come back. So it just shows a lot about their resilience and how they stick together, and they kind of trust each other. They're trusting the process. They're trusting, what we're doing as coaches. And I think that's one of the biggest things is as teammates, they're coming together. And it is because I think they've had a lot of adversity early on.
Well, you really mentioned that throughout this interview. I mean, it's clear how close this team is. You can see it on social media, in the dugout, celebrating after big hits. Allison, I want to transition back over to you. Being in the dugout again as a student manager and being around these teams now for almost 2 decades, just how important is that locker room culture and in the dugout?
Oh, it's really important, and Bridget has built it. Like the way that she sets up the whole year from the fall, how she recruits the students to come to Villanova. They're excellent student athletes. So 3.5 team GPA, they're crushing it. You mentioned Miranda Runco, she's a 4.0 student athlete. Like Maddie O, 4.0 student athlete. Like they're really excelling in the classroom, and then that transitions to the field. Like their success from the classroom transitions to the field. The camaraderie that they have, even just this past weekend in DePaul, I wasn't there, so I watched the games on ESPN Plus, and it's a full team effort. Everyone is contributing. Whether you're starting, whether you're coming in, whether you're cheering in the dugout. Every single person. It's a small roster, so everyone needs to contribute. They all have to be bought in. They all have to be working towards that goal of wanting to do as well as they can in these Big East games to set us up, to have an opportunity to compete at the championship again in May.
Well, the home opener is this weekend. Obviously, the goal is to get back to the Big East tournament and compete and obviously win there, but want to focus on the road ahead, the home opener. How big is that for this team to get back home? Warm weather, hopefully, no snow. How important is that for the team?
It's so important. It's super exciting. Like I said, to be at home, to play in front of our fans, to sleep in their own beds. We've been traveling for so long, and I think for them to just have some stability of being at home, getting a lot of rest, recovering, and just getting after on our field. They love playing at home. They love playing on our field, so I think that'll be a big deal. And obviously, we have Butler coming in, so it's going to be their first conference series. So, our goal each time is obviously to win every game, but we want to get after one game at a time and kind of take one win, and hopefully we end up sweeping and we can put ourselves in a good position.
Well, looking forward to it indeed. Want to kind of wrap up with where we started this conversation, right? The 50th year celebration of Villanova Softball. We're here doing this interview to highlight this. What are some of the promotions that people can attend for the 50th year, if that's a home opener, or just kind of throughout the rest of the season?
Yeah, I think our biggest thing that we're going to do for it is on April 17th, the Friday night, we have a reception right here from 5 to 7. And that's going to be a great kind of welcome back to, all the players that came before us. And I'm really excited just to see all the alumni come back and share their stories. I think that's the best part about it. It really is a family. We kind of say that everybody thinks like, oh, Villanova, that's so cliche. But it really is, like, especially for me, like you mentioned, like, I went here, my husband went here, my son currently goes here, so it really is a family atmosphere. So when we have these receptions or alumni events or Hall of Fames, and everybody comes back together, and obviously Coach Maria is like a second mother to me. I played for her, and she's followed me all the way through. When I had my kids, she was there. When Zach was born, she got him his first Villanova V outfit.
There you go.
Just turned 20, and he goes to Villanova. So it's like it really is I can genuinely when I recruit kids, genuinely I'm bringing you into a program, and you're gonna be better when you get out. can 100% buy into, like, when you come here, not just about softball, you know, that's part of it, that's what we want to do, we want to compete, we want to win, but my opinion, like, you're going to be better off when you get out of here, with the connections at Villanova, and the people that you're going to meet, and your lifelong friends. And so these receptions, so celebrating the 50 years, is just an awesome opportunity for me, selfishly, to see everybody come back. You know, come back and kind of reconnect and see everybody that goes here. And we have several players whose kids also go here. It's something, you know, that they're really excited about. So I think that is kind of the most exciting thing to me, is to see what they're doing after they get out. You know, and I think it's taken me a long time to, obviously as a young coach, you didn't realize that, and as you get going, you see these kids come back, and now their kids are coming back, and you're like, wow, not only getting older, but at the same time, I'm like, wow, they're doing great. They're doing great in life, and that's really most important.
And it's so interesting and cool because you have lived the Villanova experience, talked about that in the very beginning. You know what it's like to be a student here. You know what it's like to play here. You know what it's like to coach here. And that is really valuable, especially in this world of college athletics. And Allison, we talked about it off air before this. I mean, obviously, you know, promoting and talking about the 50th year of Villanova softball, but there were many players who came before the official start, trailblazers, as Coach Orchard had talked about, that really kind of led the way. So if you just want to talk about that for a moment, and how many, you know, athletes were here before those 50 years that really allowed these last 50 years to really be such a major part of campus.
Yeah, we know that we had, you know, teams and players before the official start to Villanova softball, and they really, like, led the way. They paved the foundation for, you know, who this program is today, what we're accomplishing today, and we're welcoming everyone back. We want everyone to be a part of this 50-year celebration, whether you played in 72, 73, 74, or whether you played in 2025. Like, we want you and your families, your kids, your spouses, your parents. You know, Bridget's parents are a big part of this program. My mom loves Villanova softball. She travels all the time with the program. Like, we want you to come back. We want you to be a part of it. We want you to come and, you know, celebrate with us on April 17th here in our facilities, and then come on April 18th. It's our senior day. We're hosting George Mason for a non-conference doubleheader, and we'll be celebrating both senior day, our 2026 seniors, and we'll be celebrating the 50th anniversary, welcoming our alumni back, having them out on the field, out at the Villanova softball complex. So we're really excited for that.
We're going to have nice weather.
Sure.
Yes. We ordered nice weather.
Promise 80,
we
sunny.
ordered nice weather in April. Yes.
Well, looking forward to it. I mean, so many great events coming up with the Villanova softball program. You have the home opener again this weekend against Butler. We, of course, have the senior day, the 50th celebration, again, April 17th and 18th for that big celebration against George Mason. So that will be a really fun time, and just so great to be talking Villanova softball here this week. The weather's warm, so it's a great day to get outside and watch some Villanova softball come up this weekend. Looking forward to it.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having us.
Well, thank you so much. Again, Coach Orchard, Allison Venella, the senior athletic director for student athlete development. So thank you so much both for joining me, and thanks everybody for tuning in. Appreciate it.